Hi everyone. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the if and match statements in Python. The if statement is perhaps the most well-known statement type in computer programming. The if statement is used to execute a block of code if a certain condition is met, otherwise the code is skipped. Usually, the statement to be tested is logical, that is true or false. Python supports usual logic conditions from mathematics. Let's have a look at this. Let's suppose I've got a variable x and it has some value. In this case, I'm assigning a value of 0. So I would like to print if the value of x is equal to 0. So I'm going to write an if statement. In Python, I would say if space the statement which I want to test. For example, x equal to 0. If that statement is true, followed by a colon sign, and then I can say print the value of x is 0. And I can run this statement. So if the value of x is not equal to 0, then this statement will not run. Now, you may have multiple lines of code, or you may have a block of code which you want to run after the blocks, this if statement. In that case, what you can do is you can write the block of code with an indentation on the next line. If you do not provide the indentation, you'll get an indentation error. So in this case, I'm going to provide the indentation and I can continue to write the block of code which I want to execute in the next lines. For example, I can say the value of x is this, right? And I can run the code. So if I put the value as 0, then both the statements have been executed. Okay, so let's suppose what happens if this statement is not true and we want to execute a different block of code if this statement is not true. So we can say else, and then again with an indentation we can say, so else is followed by a colon sign and then an indentation on the next line followed by the statement which we want to print. So if the value of x is 0, this statement will be printed, but if the value of x is not equal to 0, then this statement will be printed. So how about if I want to have another condition that's, let's suppose I want to also check if the value of x is negative. And so what I'm going to do is, for example, I can say else if, instead of doing an else if, I can say elif followed by colon sign and elif followed by another statement which I want to test. So in this case, I want to check if the value of x is less than 0. Then again, on the next line, I would give an indentation and then type the value of x is negative. And then we have the default else statement, which in this case will be the value of x is positive because that's the only statement, only condition left now. I can also check, for example, add another condition, if x is equal to 1, and then I can say print the value of x is 1, and my default would be the value of x is greater than 1. Right, then I can run this. So I can, for example, if I set the value of x to 2, so this is what it will be printed. If the value is negative, then this statement is printed. I can also run the else statement. If I have only an if-else block, I can run this in the same line as well. Print value of x is 0 if x equal to 0, else the value of x is not 0. Again, I can check this. Sometimes it's easier to write the statement in the same line. Now, in some cases, instead of the if statement, a match statement might be a better fit. A match statement takes an expression and compares its value to a series of successive patterns defined by case blocks. This is similar to a switch statement in C. It is important to note here that only the first pattern that matches gets executed, and it's only supported in Python 3.10 and above. Let's have a look at this. So let's suppose we define the same variable x, and here we want to match x to a certain value. So again, we have match space x followed by colon, and on the next line we have an indentation, and then we define the case blocks. So let's suppose the value we want to test if x is equal to 0. So I would say case space 0 colon, and then on the second, and then we follow it by the indentation on the next line. I can also compare x to 1 and say print x is equal to the value of x is 1. Now what happens in other cases? We also have the variable name underscore, which acts as a wildcard. It never fails to match. If any of the above statements do not match, then this statement gets executed. So what we can say is the value of x is not equal to 0 or 1. And we can test it as well. If it's not equal to 0 or 1, then this statement is executed. You can also add an if clause to a pattern as well, which is known as a guard. For example, I can add, if I have another variable and I want to only, let's suppose, if I want to only print this wildcard when the value of y is true, then I can say if y is true. This will be executed. But if this statement is false, then this statement will not be executed. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time.